Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshama Krishna 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 Pahima Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshama Krishna 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 Pahima Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai All glories to the assembled Austin devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Trinadapi sunichena torad iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Haranama 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 iva kivalam kalo nastyeva 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 gatiranyata. So we're in Srimad Bhagavatam, or Krishna book, Krishna Leela. And I take you to the scene where Kamsa orders Akrura to bring Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan to Mathura, so that Kamsa has a master plan that he will kill Krishna and Balaram. So we pick up right when Krishna and Balaram enter Mathura. Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura reached Mathura late in the afternoon. After meeting up with Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherders who had gone on ahead, Krishna asked Akrura to return home, promising to visit him after killing all the demons envious of the Yadu dynasty. Akrura unhappily bid Krishna goodbye, went to King Kamsa to inform him that Krishna and Balaram had arrived, and then Akrura went home. Krishna and Balaram took the cowherder boys with them to see the splendorous city of Mathura. And as they all entered Mathura, the women of the city eagerly came out of their houses to see Krishna. They had often heard about Krishna and had long since developed a deep attraction for Krishna. But now that they were actually seeing Krishna, they were overwhelmed with happiness, and all their distress due to Krishna's absence was eradicated. Krishna and Balaram then came upon Kamsa's wicked washerman. Krishna asked the wicked washerman for some of the first-class garments he was carrying, but the washerman refused, and he even chastised Krishna and Balaram. At this, Krishna became very angry and beheaded the wicked washerman with his fingertips. The washerman's assistants, seeing his untimely end, dropped their bundles of clothes on the spot, running off in all directions. Krishna and Balaram then took some of the garments they especially fancied. Next, a weaver approached Krishna and Balaram and arrayed them suitably, for which service the weaver received from Krishna opulence in this life and liberation in the next. Krishna and Balaram then went to the house of the garland maker, Sudama. Sudama offered Krishna and Balaram his full obeisances, worshiped them by bathing their feet, and offering them such items as arghya and sandalwood paste, and chanted prayers in their honor. Then Sudama adorned Krishna and Balaram with garlands of fragrant flowers. Pleased, Krishna and Balaram offered Sudama whatever benedictions he wished, and then Krishna and Balaram moved on. After leaving Sudama's house, Lord Krishna came upon Trivakra Kubja, a hunchback maidservant of Kamsa, who was carrying a tray of fine ointments. Krishna asked Kubja who she was, and Krishna requested some ointment from her. Entranced by Krishna's beauty and joking words, Kubja gave both Krishna and Balaram a good deal of ointment, and in return, Krishna stepped on Kubja's toes with his lotus feet, took hold of Kubja's chin, lifted her, and thus straightened Kubja's spine. The now beautiful and charming Kubja then grabbed the edge of Krishna's upper cloth and asked Krishna to come to her house. Krishna replied that after he had taken care of some business, Krishna would certainly come and relieve Kubja's mental torment. Then Krishna and Balaram continued their sightseeing tour of Mathura. As Krishna and Balaram walked along King Kamsa's road, the merchants worshiped Krishna and Balaram with various offerings. Krishna asked where the bow sacrifice was to take place, and when Krishna arrived at the arena, Krishna saw the wonderful bow which resembled that of Lord Indra's. Despite the protests of the guards, Krishna forcibly picked up the bow, easily strung it, and within an instant broke it in half, which produced an ear-splitting sound that filled the heavens and struck terror in the heart of Kamsa. The many guards then attacked Krishna, crying out, "Seize him! Kill him! Seize him! Kill him!" But Krishna and Balaram simply picked up the two halves of the bow and beat the guards to death. Next, Krishna and Balaram annihilated a company of soldiers sent by Kamsa, and then Krishna and Balaram left the arena, continuing their tour. And when the people of Mathura saw the amazing prowess and beauty of Krishna and Balaram, they thought they must be two chief demigods. Indeed, as the residents of Mathura gazed upon Krishna and Balaram, they enjoyed all the blessings the gopis had previously predicted when Krishna and Balaram left Vrindavan. At sunset, Krishna and Balaram returned to the cowherders' camp for their evening meal. They then passed the night resting comfortably. Meanwhile, on the other side, when Kamsa came to understand about the breaking of his wonderful bow and the killing of the caretaker and soldiers by Krishna, Kamsa could partially realize the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa could realize that the eighth son of Devaki had appeared, and that now his death was imminent. Thinking of his imminent death, Kamsa could not rest the entire night. He began to have many inauspicious visions, and he could understand that both Krishna and Balaram, who had now approached the precincts of the city, were simply his messengers of death. Kamsa then began to see various kinds of inauspicious signs, both while awake and dreaming. When he looked in the mirror, Kamsa could not see his head, although the head was actually present. Kamsa could see the luminaries in the sky in double, although there was only one set factually. Kamsa began to see holes in his shadow, and he could hear a high buzzing sound within his ears. All the trees before Kamsa appeared to be made of gold, and he could not see his own footprints in dust or muddy clay. In dream, Kamsa saw various kinds of ghosts being carried away in a carriage drawn by donkeys. Kamsa also dreamed that someone was giving him poison and he was drinking it. Kamsa dreamed also that he was going naked with a garland of flowers and was smearing oil all over his body. Thus, as Kamsa saw various signs of death, both while awake and sleeping, Kamsa could understand that his death was certain, and thus, in great anxiety, Kamsa could not rest that night. Just after the night expired, Kamsa began to busily arrange for the wrestling match. At dawn, the wrestling festival began. Crowds of people from Mathura and outlying districts entered the arena and took their seats in the lavishly decorated galleries. Kamsa, his heart trembling, sat down on the royal dais and invited Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherder men to come and sit in their places. And they did so after offering Kamsa their gifts. The musical overture then began as the sounds of the wrestlers slapping their arms resounded. After finishing their early morning rituals, Krishna and Balaram heard kettle drums, which herald the start of the wrestling match. And Krishna and Balaram then went to see the festivities. At the gate of the wrestling arena, Krishna and Balaram encountered an elephant named Kuvalayapida, who attacked Krishna at the urging of his keeper. The mighty elephant grabbed at Krishna with his trunk, but Krishna struck back and then disappeared from the beast's sight among his legs. Enraged and not being able to see Krishna, Kuvalayapida sought Krishna out with his sense of smell and seized him. But Krishna pulled loose. In this way, Krishna teased and tormented Kuvalayapida, finally yanking out one of his tusks and beating him to death along with his keepers. Sri Krishna Bhagavana Ki. Sprinkled with the elephant's blood and carrying one of the elephant's tusks on his shoulder as a weapon, Lord Krishna appeared unprecedentedly beautiful as Krishna entered the wrestling arena. There, the various classes of people saw Krishna in different ways according to their specific relationship with him. When King Kamsa heard how Krishna and Balaram had killed Kuvalayapida, Kamsa realized Krishna and Balaram must be invincible, and thus became filled with anxiety. The members of the audience, on the other hand, became joyful as they reminded one another about Krishna and Balaram's amazing pastimes. The people then declared that Krishna and Balaram must be two expansions of the Supreme Lord, Narayan, who had now descended into the house of Vasudeva. When Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and their friends, Krishna appeared differently to different people according to their different relationships or rasas with him. After all, Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure and all kinds of rasas, both favorable and unfavorable. And so, Krishna appeared to the wrestlers exactly like a thunderbolt. To the people in general, Krishna appeared as the most beautiful personality. To the females, Krishna appeared to be the most attractive male Cupid personified, thus increasing their lust. The cowherder men who were present looked upon Krishna as their own kinsman, coming from the same village of Vrindavan. The Kshatriya kings who were present saw Krishna as the strongest ruler. To the parents of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda, Krishna appeared to be the most loving child. And to Kamsa, the king of the Bhoja dynasty, Krishna appeared to be death personified. To those who are unintelligent, Krishna appeared to be an incapable personality. To the yogis present, Krishna appeared to be the supersoul. To the members of the Vrishni dynasty, Krishna appeared to be the most celebrated descendant. So at this time, I'd like to make a point of my own and ask yourself, how do you see Krishna? We understand that there are 5 rasas we can have with Krishna: Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And we're all seeing Krishna every day. Either we are seeing Krishna as the deity in the temple or in our homes, or we're seeing Krishna in the pages of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or my favorite book, Krishna. So ask yourself, how do you see Krishna? How do you want to see Krishna? This is why we chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why? Because we all have our own unique relationship with Krishna. But we have forgotten it. But by chanting every day, little by little by little, your original relationship with Krishna is being revealed. And Srila Prabhupada writes in one of his Bhagavatam purports that if you find yourself especially attracted to a particular avatar of Krishna or to a particular pastime, that gives you a clue as to your original relationship with Krishna. So therefore, keep on chanting. Don't stop. You're so close. Thus appreciated differently by different kinds of men present, Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and his cowherd boyfriends. The wrestler Chanura then stepped forward, challenging Krishna and Balaram to wrestle, saying that King Kamsa wished to see such a match. And Krishna replied, "Although we are merely nomadic forest folk, we are nonetheless subjects of the king. Thus, we will not hesitate to please Kamsa with an exhibition of wrestling." As soon as Chanura heard this, he suggested that Krishna should wrestle him and that Balaram should wrestle Mushtika. Thus deciding to wrestle, Lord Krishna faced off against Chanura, and Lord Balaram took on Mushtika. Battling arm to arm, head to head, knee to knee, chest to chest, the opponents attacked each other so fiercely that they appeared to be harming even their own bodies. The ladies in the arena, seeing the violent battle, began to condemn the king and all the members of the assembly. They said, "A respectable audience should never have allowed such a wrestling match between such huge wrestlers whose limbs are as tough as thunderbolts against such tender young boys who are just entering youth. An intelligent person should never enter an assembly if one sees injustice being done there." Because Vasudeva and Devaki did not fully understand the power of Krishna and Balaram, they became extremely unhappy when they heard the women of the audience speaking these words. Sri Krishna then grabbed Chanura's arms, whirled him around several times, threw him to the ground, and thus killed him. And Mushtaka met a similar fate. After being struck powerfully by Lord Baladev's palm, Mushtaka began vomiting blood, falling down. Thereupon the wrestlers, who were named Kuta, Shala, and Toshala, came forward. But Krishna and Balaram easily killed them with the blows of their fists and feet. The remaining wrestlers, fearing for their lives, all fled. All the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram approached and congratulated them with great pleasure. While drums were beating, they talked of the victory. The leg bells on their feet of Krishna and Balaram thus tinkled. All the people there began to clap in great ecstasy, and no one could estimate the bounds of their pleasure. The Brahmanas began to praise Krishna and Balaram ecstatically. But only Kamsa was morose. He neither clapped nor offered benediction to Krishna. And Kamsa resented the drums being beaten for Krishna's victory. And he was very sorry that the wrestlers had been killed and they had fled the assembly. Kamsa therefore immediately ordered the drum playing to stop, and he began to address his friends as follows. I order that these two sons of Vasudeva be immediately driven out of Mathura, and the cowherd boys who have come with them should be plundered and all their riches taken away. Yes, Nanda Maharaj should immediately be arrested and killed for his cunning behavior. And that rascal Vasudeva should also be killed without delay. And my father, Ugrasena, who has always supported my enemies against my will, he should also be killed. So when Kamsa spoke in this way, Lord Krishna became very angry with Kamsa, and within a second, Krishna jumped over the high guards of the king. Kamsa was prepared for Krishna's attack, for Kamsa knew from the beginning that Krishna was to be the cause of his death. Kamsa immediately unsheathed his sword and prepared to answer the challenge of Krishna with sword and shield. As Kamsa wielded his sword up and down, hither and thither, Lord Krishna, the supreme powerful Lord, caught hold of Kamsa with great force. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the complete creation, and from whose lotus navel the whole creation is manifested, immediately knocked the crown from the head of Kamsa, grabbed his long hair in his hand. Krishna then dragged Kamsa from his seat to the wrestling dais and threw him down. Then Krishna at once straddled the chest of Kamsa and began to strike him over and over and over again. And simply from the strokes of Krishna's fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. All glories to Bhagavan Sri Krishna! Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki! Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki! Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai! Well, that's good. You see it better that way. Only for a second. In order to assure his parents that Kamsa was dead, Lord Krishna dragged Kamsa just as a lion drags an elephant after killing it. On sight of this, There was a great roaring sound from all sides as some spectators expressed their jubilation and others cried in lamentation. From the day Kamsa heard that he would be killed by the eighth son of Devaki, Kamsa was always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day without any stop. Even while Kamsa was eating, while Kamsa was walking, while Kamsa was breathing. And naturally, therefore, Kamsa got the blessing of liberation. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sadatad bhava bhavita. A person gets the next life according to the thoughts in which one is always absorbed. Krishna was thinking of, Kamsa was thinking of Krishna with his wheel, which means Narayan, who holds a wheel, conch shell, lotus flower, and club. So according to the opinion of authorities, Kamsa attained Sarupya Mukti after death. That is to say, Kamsa attained the same form as Narayana Vishnu. On the Vaikuntha planets, all the inhabitants have the same bodily features as Narayan with 4 arms. So after his death, Kamsa attained liberation and was promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. From this instance, we can understand that even a person who thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enemy gets liberation and a place in Vaikuntha. So what to speak of the pure devotees who are always absorbed in favorable thoughts of Krishna? So that is us. We can hardly imagine what will be our destination if we continue to think of Krishna favorably with love. Even an enemy who is killed by Krishna gets liberation and is placed in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good, anyone thinking of him, either as an enemy or as a friend, gets liberation. But the liberation of the devotee and the liberation of the enemy are not the same. The enemy generally gets the liberation of Sayuja, and sometimes one gets Sarupya liberation. Kamsa had 8 brothers headed by Kanka. All of them were younger than he, and when they learned that their elder brother had been killed, they combined together and rushed towards Krishna in great anger to kill him. Kamsa and his brothers were all Krishna's maternal uncles. They were all brothers of Krishna's mother, Devaki. So when Krishna killed Kamsa, he killed his maternal uncle, which is against the regulation of Vedic injunction. And although Krishna is always independent of all Vedic injunction, Krishna sometimes violates the Vedic injunction only in inevitable cases. Kamsa could not be killed by anyone but Krishna. Therefore, Krishna was obliged to kill him. But as far as Kamsa's 8 brothers were concerned, Balaram took charge of killing them. Balaram's mother, Rohini, although the wife of Vasudeva, was not the sister of Kamsa. Therefore, Balaram took charge of killing all of Kamsa's 8 brothers. He immediately took up an available weapon, most probably the elephant's tusk which he carried. And Balaram killed the 8 brothers one after another, just as a lion kills a flock of deer. Krishna and Balaram thus verified the statement that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears to give protection to the pious and to kill the impious demons who are always enemies of the demigods. The demigods from the higher planetary systems then began to shower flowers congratulating Krishna and Balaram. Among the demigods were powerful personalities like Lord Brahma and even Lord Shiva, and they all joined together, showing their jubilation over Kamsa's death. There was beating of drums and the showering of flowers from the heavenly planets, and the wives of the demigods began to dance in ecstasy. The two wives of Kamsa, named Asti and Prapti, as well as the wives of Kamsa's 8 brothers, became aggrieved on account of their husband's sudden death. And all of them were striking their foreheads and shedding torrents of tears. They were crying out very loudly, embracing the bodies of their dead husbands. The wives of Kamsa and his brothers began to lament, addressing the dead bodies. Our dear husbands, you are so kind, and you are the protector of our dependents. But now, after your death, we are also dead, along with our homes and children. We are no longer looking very auspicious. On account of your death, the auspicious functions were to take place, such as the sacrifice of the bow, have all been spoiled. Oh, dear husband, you treated persons ill who were faultless, and so as a result, you have been killed. This is inevitable, because a person who torments an innocent person must be punished by the laws of nature, the laws of God. We know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Master of everything and the Supreme Enjoyer of everything. And therefore, anyone who neglects his authority can never be happy. And ultimately, just as you have, such a person meets death. Since Krishna was kind and affectionate to his aunts, he began to give them solace as far as possible. The ritualistic ceremonies after death were then conducted under the personal supervision of Krishna, because he happened to be the nephew of all the dead princes. Krishna then released his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, from bondage. Krishna offered obeisances at his parents' feet. But now, understanding Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva and Devaki did not embrace Krishna and Balaram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And now I have a special treat. I'd like to sing a song, and you probably know Sankarshan Das, my godbrother, because he preaches there in Austin. And Sankarshan Das is a friend of mine, and he particularly loves this song that I'm going to sing for you. I'm very proud of this song. It's not my music, but the words are mine. And that's why Sankarshan, he loves the lyrics. So the name of this song is Krishna is God, dedicated to all the children there of, how do you say, Rock Ridge? Is that right? Rock Ridge? Hold on, I can't hear you. Rock Ridge?
RoundRock.
Oh, RoundRock. Sorry. It takes a while for me to learn things. RoundRock. All right. Here we go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I read a certain book, it touched my heart. That was Krishna book. I hear a special sound tearing me apart, the Maha Mantra. But oh, many, many, many lives gone by, I've wasted all of them. Now I know the answer why. What should I do? I must surrender, 'cause Krishna is God.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna is God.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna is God.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Krishna is God.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
I don't care what they say about me.
Fool, fool.
They say I never, never, never be free.
Fool, fool.
But oh, it doesn't matter what they say. I know I'm gonna love him any old way. What can I do when it's true? I don't want nobody, nobody. Ow! Krishna is God.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I feel fine,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
getting better all the time.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
All you need is love.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribo. I got a ticket to ride. But oh, it doesn't matter what they say. I know I'm gonna love him any old way. What can I do when it's true? I can't help myself, no, 'cause Krishna is God.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna is God.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna es Dios.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Krishna es Bhagavan.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Everybody sing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So much fun. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. You don't want to stop. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's do it again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Come, let's go. Hare Krishna. Oh, that's it. Oh, I thought there was more. Okay, that's it. All right, let's take this to a neutral. There we go. So